Every age and stage in life is different. We know that our lives go through many phases, and sometimes there's different plateaus in our lives, such as very exciting times in our lives. Sometimes everything seems to be ordinary, and sometimes there's just troubles that don't seem to go away. Maybe a slew of troubles at once. There's a saying, when it rains, it pours. Either it's all good or all seemingly bad. And it may seem like it's interesting how life turns out to be that way for most of us. And sometimes we wonder, what does this mean? Is this a message from God? When everything is great, does that mean that God is happy with me? When everything is great, doesn't mean He's upset at me. He forgot about me. When He gives me a lot of troubles, doesn't mean He is disappointed in me. So we may have all these questions, and I'm going to share with you a very powerful story today called Spare Time, given over by Rabbi Tzvi Nakar in his book 102 Stories That Change People's Lives. And I hope to answer this question, or these questions that I've just presented, and as well as give you a powerful practical tip on how to deal with these thoughts in the future. So there was an older man whose name was Yerachmiel Khan, and these are fake names given to real people to protect them and their confidentiality. This is a pseudonym given. He was the patriarch of a very large family, many kids, many grandchildren. Unfortunately, he lost his wife after almost 60 years of marriage, and he was devastated and inconsolable. He was getting older, and he was getting very frail and weak, suffering from many different types of sicknesses. With the sudden death of his wife, the loneliness and misery was just too much to bear. Before the wife's sudden death, he was a distinguished, high-spirited gentleman with a bounce in his step, full of positivity, and he always maintained a full schedule and had a good word for everyone. After the death of his wife, he became bitter, very bitter, and lived his days in darkness and grief. His youngest son was named Mordechai, another pseudonym. The son lived nearby and took care of the father regularly. He was distraught to see his father this way, and he told himself, I'm going to bring back light into his life. I'm going to bring back joy into my father's life. And he was determined to do so. To lessen some of the darkness, he told his son, Yossi, another pseudonym, to sleep in his grandfather's house every night. And as his grandchild would come, Yerachmiel's grandchild would come and visit him, his daughter-in-law would, of course, send lots of delicious hot food, fresh food, as the grandson would sleep at his grandfather's house and keep him company, not to make him feel lonely and less depressed. Day by day, Yerachmiel's physical strength deteriorated until one afternoon, while alone in his house, he took a hard fall. Of course, they had to take stronger measures. If it wasn't for the neighbor hearing his cries, the results could have been fatal. He could have died. Convinced that his father required intense attention and closer care, Mordechai proposed that his father move into his house. Yerachmiel was stubborn about the whole idea. He refused to comply, because living in his house for about 50 years, it brought so many beautiful memories. But Mordechai begged his father to reconsider, convincing that his father would be a pleasure to take care of, and his father would not be a burden. The father ultimately submitted to the children's pleas and agreed to a trial period. To make her father-in-law as comfortable as possible, Mordechai's wife, Suri, pseudonym, worked frantically to prepare the bedroom. The oldest two children had to give up their bedroom and share the bedroom with the younger siblings. They were very upset about this, and they were giving up a big leisurely addition in the family. It's a big plus to be in a separate bedroom, but they were giving that up and displaying a true nobility of spirit. She generously invited her father-in-law into her home and in her heart, impressing upon her children the amazing value and mitzvah of respecting parents, of respecting grandparents. I just want to make a note here. Respecting parents also goes into respecting in-laws. That this is an addition. It's not just respecting our parents, it's also respecting our husbands, parents, our in-laws. The grandchildren were less enthusiastic about a sudden change in their lives, and the entire ordeal took a very difficult toll on everyone, understandably so. Some of the parents, most of the parents' attempts to lighten the load through persuasion, coaxing, stories, and lessons from Chazal and Tzaddikim just weren't useful. They tried to inspire them with all these stories and parables and inspirational thoughts, but the kids still were very upset about the sudden change. Yerachmiel ended up in his son's house for 7 years. The years were filled with ups, but the years were filled up with many more downs. Mordechai was forced to miss many work days to accompany his father to various doctors and medical procedures. The siblings offered to lighten the burden, but were ineffective because their father felt very close to Mordechai and he wanted to be in his care, and he became very dependent on Mordechai. As the years passed, Yerachmiel's limitation in speech and mobility increased. It was hard for him to talk. It was hard for him to move. But Mordechai faithfully attended to him, feeding and washing him regularly. Yerachmiel's patience also deteriorated. Despite the outstanding devotion of his son and daughter-in-law, he had frequent complaints about everyone. His words were very sharp and very insulting, and this was especially difficult to hear for the grandchildren, because they not only did they have to give up their space, so much time, their whole family dynamic changed, but even to hear their cranky grandfather's words, insults, were really difficult to hear. There were many times when Mordechai and Suri were on the verge of giving up, yet inevitably the other one would calm the other one down and say, "Don't worry, and everything is going to be okay." And they would give each other the inner strength to console the other and remind them how beautiful and precious the mitzvah of Kibud Avadin was, of honoring parents, both to their father and, of course, to Hashem, our God. There were also those sweet moments when Mordechai and Suri drank in which it made their mitzvah of honoring parents strong and encouraging. These sweet moments were seeing Yerachmiel sitting comfortably near the window, listening to a lecture, listening to music, drinking his hot cup of tea. It came to Mordechai and Suri's oldest daughter Elisheva's pseudonym time to get married. They were marrying off their daughter, Yerachmiel's granddaughter, and they decided to have a l'chaim, a celebration of the two families. And Elisheva became a kala, she became a bride. The families decided to gather together for the l'chaim in the Khan's house and get together and celebrate. Yerachmiel sent a number of inappropriate comments both to the groom and to the groom's father. And you can imagine how the Khan family was so incredibly embarrassed. They cringed in shame and embarrassment. Mordechai swallowed his pride and related respectfully to his father. When the l'chaim glasses were filled, Yerachmiel dropped the glass by accident, and the glass shattered and stained the gorgeous, pristine tablecloth that was put on the table. Instead of Mordechai getting upset and showing any form of disappointment, he changed the subject, asked his father to tell about the family memories to the other family, to the groom's family, and quickly cleaned up. The groom's parents were absolutely awed by the Khan's family's exceptional display of honor to their father and grandfather. This occasion made it even clearer to them that this was the family that their son should marry into. In the final 2 years of his life, Yerachmiel required frequent treatments in the hospitals and rehab. Mordechai and Suri rose to the task anew, never with a word of complaint and always with a smile. They attended to him and nursed him with unrivaled patience and love until his very last day. One day when Mordechai was gently feeding his father, Yerachmiel suffered a massive heart attack and passed away. Mordechai, Suri, and their children mourned their father and grandfather so deeply. After the mourning period, the grief was replaced with appreciation that a very significant stage in their life had drawn to a close. It finished a stage of their life, taking care of the grandfather and father. As the Khan family slowly returned to normalcy, they were certain that now they can attend to the million tasks they put off, taking care of the grandfather and the father. And now they could finally take care of themselves and make time for themselves and get to their million things that they wanted to do. Now they felt they could focus on the care of their family's needs and give more attention to each other. However, out of nowhere, a slew of family challenges arose. They all started happening out of nowhere. A number of the family expenses rose and unexpected challenges began to take place. Their 8-year-old needed help and was a struggling reader. Their 14-year-old needed braces. Their older son got engaged to a girl in England. Now they had to make amends in their plans and all fly for the Simcha in England to go abroad. Mordechai's longtime manager was replaced by a hard-headed, strict, demanding employer who had many demands, deadlines, and expectations. One day, after a particularly tiring day, Mordechai and Suri were discussing the recent changes and upheavals in their lives. Understanding dawned on them. They finally understood why the things that happened the way they did. As long as they had completely engaged in the mitzvah of honoring parents, Hashem rewarded them. Hashem spared them the routine troubles and struggles of daily life, of their family life. Now that their special window of time expired, Hashem gave them other challenges, which are actually opportunities for growth that are part of their regular day-to-day living. So from here we learn that life always has ups and downs. And remember, when you're living, your heart rate is going up and down, up and down. I heard this from someone who shared and inspired me. That's when you're truly living. When life is the same, when life is always good, when life is not challenging, life is dead. A person is dead. A person can be rich. A person can be free of worry. A person can be free of troubles. And you know what? They're not connecting to Hashem. So challenges help us connect to Hashem. But even deeper than that, what I want to share is that let's not think that Hashem forgot about us when life is ordinary. Thank Hashem. Because a person who thanks Hashem when life is ordinary, when life is regular, it's not because Hashem forgot about you or doesn't care or moved on to figuring out the politics in the world. No. It's because Hashem knows you are probably connecting to Hashem through the ordinary and through the regular. You're connecting to Him. You know it's all from Him. And that's the way we want to live our lives. When our life is full of challenges, like we don't know where to bury our heads, we feel like an ostrich that's just supposed to hide ourselves, just supposed to run away from our problems. It's not because Hashem forgot about you and doesn't care and gives you all these challenges. Challenges are really opportunities in disguise. Think about a challenge that you overcame. You probably became a bigger and better person because of those challenges. So remember, when life has ups and downs, it's because at this stage of your life, you need to focus on this challenge. And Hashem does not give you any challenge that you cannot overcome. He knows what you can handle. Just like with this story, Mordecai was given the challenge, the incredible, time-consuming, filling up his whole day just taking care of his father. His emotional needs were wrapped up with his father. All his to-do list had to be all catering around his father's schedule. It was all because now he just needs to focus on his father. The whole family that was their mitzvah, that was their task in life. And when that window finished, Hashem said, okay, now you have other opportunities for growth. The day-to-day challenges of regular life. So I'm going to leave you with a practical tip. Whenever you experience anything in life, whether it's super happy times, whether it's regular, ordinary days, or whether it's a lot of challenges in your life, just tell yourself, this too shall pass. Our sages, our great rabbis teach us that no character trait really should be all on its own. There are some character traits that shouldn't be happening at all, such as anger, and even with anger, there are some, allowances for anger. There's lots of laws about that. However, most character traits you need to be in the middle of. It's not good to be too kind. It's not good to be not kind at all. So it's not good to be too generous. It's not good to be, stringent and keep things to yourself. So we should be in the middle of all character traits, including negative character traits, and including negative character traits. Really, we should all overcome. However, when you're impatient doing a mitzvah, that's a good thing. So what I wanted to share essentially is it's so important for us to remember that in life everything passes. This too shall pass. The good moments, the sad moments, the happy moments, the challenging moments. Don't get sucked in to your super happy phase in your life, free of worry, because this too is going to pass. When we get too sucked into a certain moment, then when God forbid something happens to sadden us, we don't want to break apart. We want to be in the middle. We want to know and tell ourselves that this too shall pass, this super happy moment in my life, and this too shall pass when I have a difficult, challenging time at work or with a certain boss and with everything else in our lives. So hopefully this will help us. This too shall pass. I would like to bless us all to stay calm, stay focused, and remember this too shall pass. Leah Abramov, Being and Becoming, awakening awareness of your greatness and potential.